Sera, you write this show and you have this character at the center who is really doing some pretty awful things. And yet, the audience, or at least a very vocal portion of the audience, is basically rooting for this guy.
Right.
How much did that surprise you, or did it not surprise you
It did not
at
surprise
all?
me. It's based on a book.
Right.
Joe is at the center of the book. You're inside his thoughts. It's called You because he's addressing Beck in his head. We retained that voiceover for the show. And there's a very vocal contingent of fans of Caroline Kepnes' book who are like, I heart Joe. Essentially what she's done is taken the classic romantic hero and just peeled back the sort of gloss and sheen and John Cusack with the boombox. And she followed it to its logical conclusion. I mean, if you just turn off the sappy music and turn on like a David Fincher score, romantic comedies are stalker movies. Like the plot of pretty much everyone I can think of, and we have watched all of them many times in the writer's room, pretty much all of them are contingent on the guy. First of all, he has to do a certain amount of fucking up so she can forgive him. And also he has to get over some of her shortcomings. I mean, that's love, right? But also he's like chasing her through a fucking airport, chasing her on a freeway, watching her sleep because he feels protective. Romantic comedy behavior in real life is criminal.
Yeah.
So that was basically the starting place for the show. This guy has read all the great books, he's watched all the great romances, and he's a bit unhinged. How does he process that? What does he think he has to do to be a good man and a good boyfriend?
And then you have in your star, Penn.
I was going to say, it doesn't hurt.
Sure, but also there he is on social media sort of clapping back at these people who are in fact rooting for him. What are those sort of conversations that you have, and do you want to do the same thing, or do you sort of let that unfurl as it will?
I try to have the prime directive to answer the second part of your question first. I'm happy to interact with people online to talk about like, how do you outline a script? But when they're like, why did you do that thing? It's like, you watch it the way you want to watch it. For Penn, I think when Greg Berlanti and I were talking about the casting, which I think is like maybe the single most important thing when you're making a show, we talked about how we needed an actor who really felt like Joe Goldberg was on paper. And Penn is all of that great stuff. He's thoughtful, he's a reader, he is a humanitarian, he is a feminist. He is extremely disturbed by Joe's behavior. Joe would never do those things that Joe does. And a lot of our conversations throughout season 1 when we were making the show, they were largely about his level of discomfort with each thing I was sending him. And we would, and by the way, he was like A+ #1 on the call sheet. He's never like, that feels weird, I'm not gonna do it. He's always like, we're gonna do it. Let's talk about, and by the way, I've never been more uncomfortable in my life, right?
Yeah.
I also think he's got a good sense of humor. I think there's something kind of funny and glib about the way that he's doing that that's actually very sweet to the fans. He expected them to be like that. They're like that about the book. So I think his approach is kind of admirable.
How much pressure do you feel to sort of strike while the iron is hot? You guys have a lot of sort of buzz and juice around you guys. Is there a sense of, I gotta sell more projects, do more? Is that the pressure from the outside or from you guys? You're laughing as though the answer is yes.
Are you
or
looking
no.
at me? I've never experienced this before right now, actually. I mean, I was very happily, pretty much today, I was very, very happily working on exactly, I had reached a point in my career where I was working on exactly the projects I wanted to. I don't know how to do this job if I'm not really excited about the writing of it, because the rest of the job is long and it takes a lot out of you, and so you want to be passionate. And You was the same. You was Greg Berlanti coming to me and saying, I have this very unusual book that I think you and I should write the pilot together. And we just saw eye to eye, and that show was bought by Showtime. We had different visions for the show. Lifetime picked it up to series. Lifetime was a fabulous partner in season 1. This was a departure for them. The executives were excited. They were sending me these beautiful emails with great ideas. They were great partners. Didn't work for their business model. We got canceled. So I'm like, this is essentially how I thought my career would be this year.
Yeah.
And now for the first time, I'm working on a show where I go on Instagram or whatever, and there's a meme, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Penn on our show. Wow. So yes, there are people saying, oh, your iron is hot now. That's what that is. And I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or I just don't believe any of that is real. I was happy doing the show at Lifetime. I was happy writing the script for Showtime. I'm super happy that so many people watch it on Netflix. the rest of it, certainly as an artist, as a craftsperson, I have to build a wall between myself and anything that's about like cash money in my life. I want that to be, I mean, listen, I don't hate money. I'm not like against being paid for your work, but I don't believe that this is a moment and then the moment is going to go away. The thing that I'm most excited about is that the next thing will be so different because of this thing. And beyond that, I'm in denial about all of it.
Hi, I'm Sam Esmelt.
I'm Marty Noxon.
Hi, I'm Stephen Canals.
I'm Sera Gamble.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching the Hollywood Reporter Roundtable.
The Hollywood Reporter Roundtable.
Roundtable.
On YouTube.
On YouTube.